Colbyjack.net is proud to present From the Flames by Trisha M. Wilson. The people of the fire, the Blesa, led by their queens, have ruled the island of Alfeyju and oppressed the Driva, the people of the ice, for more than 16 generations. With the Drivian King in hiding and little hope on the horizon, the Driva looked to one person to save them from the vile Blesa, the Diviana. According to legend, the divinely gifted Diviana will one day overthrow the Blesa and restore the Drivian King to his rightful throne. But with the search having lasted for more than 400 years, will the Diviana ever come to light? Willow is the slave of the Raskpil family. Bought at the age of 4, 20 years have passed since her life irrevocably changed. Her existence is no worse than any other slave, but within, Willow wonders if there isn't something more she should be doing with her life other than serving the ungrateful. Ordered to travel with her master's family to Sondertoft, so her master's adult children can take part in an ancient rite of passage, Willow is shocked when she learns that she too must participate. Will she fail, as all before her have? Will she rise to the challenge and become stronger after passing through the flames? Episode 30, Chapter 17, The Waterfall. The trio rode in silence for a long time, each deep in their own thoughts. It wasn't until the sun began to set that Hawk broke the silence. "Where are we going to stop?" "There should be a clearing soon where other travelers have stopped," Sigurd said. "How do you know? Have you been this way before?" Willow asked. "No, but there's usually a tramp village a couple hours away from any major city." And he was right. Not too much farther, there was a rather large clearing packed full of people. But this wasn't a temporary camp. No, it was almost as if people lived here year-round by the way things were situated, such as the mud-splattered wagons and large tents set up in the best locations. Their owners paraded around, loudly ordering people where to set up their own camps, telling them where they could and could not stay. They were very bossy for such poor people. On the other side of the clearing, close to a stream, there were more permanent residents. These sold trinkets and other second-hand goods. Willow was intrigued by these people, but also wary, for they looked dirty like beggars. And as a whole, beggars couldn't be trusted. As if to prove her perception right, a group of children ran up to her, holding out very dented cups, begging her for coins, food, and anything else she had. She was taken back, for the few beggars that visited her hometown had a quiet dignity about them, which encouraged those in town to give. These people, however, had no such dignity, for in addition to begging, they pulled at her clothes and her bag. "Leave me alone," Willow said, even as she tried to guide her horse around the children. Sigurd's voice rang through the confusion around her. "We have nothing to give you, you thieves! Leave us be, or I'll strike you down!" Willow was shocked that he had talked to children in such a way, but she could do nothing, for the children ran away from them to one of the adults in charge of the clearing. The man was also ill-kept and dirty-looking, but there was something different about him. He had a hardness in his eyes as he looked upon her and her companions. This man scared Willow. Willow broke eye contact with the man and followed Sigurd to a small, empty area near the creek. It wasn't too far away from the others, but there was privacy. As they set up camp, Willow noticed a man nearby. He almost looked like he was aimlessly wandering around the area as he went from campsite to campsite. "Willow, would you come help me?" Sigurd asked from the other side of camp. Willow was about halfway to him when the stranger suddenly grabbed Val and took off into the forest. "Val!" Willow screamed even as she began to run after the man. But Hawk was faster than she, hurtling past her and jumping onto the stranger's back. They rolled until Hawk was on top of the man. He yanked Val out of the man's grasp and then started to mercilessly beat the man's face. Punch after punch Hawk delivered, never pausing for a second to notice that his victim had stopped fighting. "Stop!" Willow yelled, even as she grabbed Hawk's arm to prevent him from hitting the man any more. "What?" Hawk panted, his face fierce, before trying to rip his arm from her grasp. But Sigurd was there, already pulling him off of the now unconscious man. "Look what you've done!" Willow was horrified. The man's face was bloody. Both of his eyes were turning black, and his nose was at an awkward angle. "What are we going to do? You injured this poor beggar!" "Don't be sorry for them," Sigurd said, releasing Hawk. Hawk took one look at his victim, picked up Val, and walked back to the camp, never saying a word. They don't have to steal. They choose to. "But their clothes and their home—" "Despite their looks, they are more rich than most. They choose to live this way. And if they want to steal, they'll have to learn that there are consequences." Sigurd began to steer her away from the man, but Willow resisted. "But what about him?" "His people will come get him when we're back at our camp." Willow was unsure, but she let Sigurd lead her back. They reached Frid Rosa mid-morning, never speaking about the events of the night before. Willow had tried, but at every turn Hawk had deflected her questions. Now sitting on their horses looking at the city, Willow and Hawk were awestruck at its presence and size. "And I thought Sondertoft was large," Willow murmured in awe. "This must be 4 times its size." As they approached the city's gate and the southern bridge, one of the 4 bridges which crossed the river Frid and led one into the city, the amount of traffic on the road increased dramatically. On the prior days, few people other than themselves had been on the road. The closer they came to Frid Rosa, however, the more people that flooded the road. Horse-drawn wagons full of wares to sell and individuals on horseback were the minority of the traffic. Most people were on foot, laden with all of their worldly goods, people heading to the city for a better life. At times, the sheer number of people surrounding them became claustrophobic. But there was no way to get away from the crowds, for everyone was headed to the same place, Frid Rosa. Now stopped directly in front of the southern bridge, Willow could easily look into the city. From her vantage point, she saw that the inside of the city was even more crowded than the road had been. People moved from stand to stand with barely an inch to spare. Lining the crowded main street were tall buildings made of rough stone and crudely cut wood. 4 to 5 stories each, the buildings rose as tall as giants. But these giants didn't stand tall and proud. No, they were more like drunken giants. For some leaned into the streets looking as if they would topple down upon the crowds at any time. Others leaned sideways against neighboring buildings, needing their support to stay upright. But all of these giants were taller than the white stone wall surrounding Frid Rosa. Willow was amazed that buildings so tall were still standing. She imagined that buildings so far reaching into the sky would have fallen over. How could mere man create such tall wonders? Carefully navigating around the rushing people, screaming children, and slower wagons which littered the main entry into the city, Sigurd led them away from the mob to a dirt path which led along the outer bank of the river. This road circled the city like the walls, but kept them on the opposite side of the river from the city. "From the stories Arlik, the old warrior who took me in, told me," Sigurd said, "Frid Rosa is the main trading center for this part of Alfeyju. Every day of the year, people come to buy and sell crops, goods, and slaves. If you're looking for something, it is most likely here. Only 2 other cities are larger than this: Eldrun, the capital city, and Izar, the old Drivian capital." "There are cities larger than this?" Hawk said in wonder, following the others as they rode away from the gate. "You should be more focused on keeping an eye out for the cave we're looking for," Sigurd admonished, "and not at the size of the city." "Of course," Hawk said, turning his gaze away from the city. Glancing at Willow in front of him, he said, "Get your hood up. We're trying to disguise that you're a normal woman, and you're not helping by continuously letting your hood drop. Do you want to be found out?" "Sorry," Willow said, pulling her hood up and making sure her cloak covered any hint of her purple dress. "I was just so amazed by the city and—" "I don't care. We need to be careful, and you're not helping," Hawk said. Glancing at the top of the wall again, she saw an armed guard watching them. They'd have to watch out for the guards. As if he'd read her mind, Sigurd said, "We'll have to be careful when we find the cave. There are guards on the walls. We don't want to attract their attention, which might happen depending on where the cave is. I've had bad experiences with the guards of cities. They are ruthless and rule their city with an iron fist. I was wandering around Isar, and wasn't respectful enough to the troll who'd stopped me, demanding to inspect my things. I knew what he was really after. He wanted to steal my food and what little silver I had. I told him no and tried to get away, but they were upon me like wolves on a sheep. Sigurd paused for a second. I only got out of that mess because of Arlig. He grabbed me and hid me until the guards got tired of looking and harassed some other poor soul. Great man he was. Great man. You talked back to the guards? Are you crazy? Hawk asked. Nobody talks back to the guards. Not crazy. Young. I didn't know at that time that their word was law, and that they could have killed me for such a small thing, Sigurd said, leading them more into the cover of the nearby trees. But my point is that if they think we're doing something we shouldn't, they won't hesitate to detain us. And by detain, I mean drag us into jail and beat us until we tell them exactly what we are doing. They can try, but between the three of us, we should be able to hold them off long enough to get away, Willow said. Don't get too confident, Sigurd cautioned. These men don't fight by any rules. They will do whatever it takes to win. Enough talk, Hawk said, moving up next to Willow, in the process blocking the guard's view of her. We are here to find that cave. Let's find it quickly, and then move on to the next task. Sigurd, did the person you mentioned talking to tell you where this waterfall was? He wasn't very specific, and since I didn't know it would be important at the time, I didn't ask, Sigurd said. They made their way clockwise around Fridrosa, but they didn't see anything until they passed the West Bridge. There, Willow said, nodding to a break in the trees where the river flowed. This must lead to the waterfall. You have been listening to From the Flames by Trisha M. Wilson. Read, recorded, mastered, encoded, and produced by Colbyjack.net. This work is released under a Creative Commons 3.0 Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license. Do what you want with it, just don't try to profit from it. Heaven knows we can't. If you have any questions, comments, or rants you wish to share with us, we can be reached at Colbyjack at Colbyjack.net. That's COLBYTRAX @COLBYJACK.net. Yep, I sing it too. If you want to follow the exploits of Trisha in Twitterland, just search for Lady Trisha W on Twitter, or follow the ever-dashing, courageous, hardworking, intelligent, and immensely humble Colbyjack on the Twitters as well. If you find that you can't, just wait to find out what will happen with Willow, the strong dude and the annoying dude. Be heartened to know that From the Flames is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Smashwords, as well as from our little shop. Didn't you know about our little shop? Why, yes, we have a little shop located at shop. That's shop.colbyjack.net. That's shop.colbyjack.net. Yeah, real original there. There you will find the latest ebook versions of all our works in both Mobi and ebook, all DRM-free, as well as audiobook versions of such works as Firmware Hijacked and Proxy, as well, naturally, as well as From the Flames. The audiobooks differ from the podcasts in that the headers and bumpers only run once, and the episodes are grouped into hour-long episodes for easy burning to CD or for downloading on the go. If you find you don't need any stuff, but just want to thank us monetarily for our efforts here, just head on over to Colbyjack.net, select either audio or visual, and look for the donate button located on the blog roll. Well, anyway, thank you for listening, have a wonderful week, and remember to be fabulous.